Welcome back, everybody, for the energy tips for January 5th till 11th, 2020. Welcome for our second energy tips video here for energetically sensitives and empaths. My name is Jona Bryndis, as you know, and I want to look into these outer and inner realities that we are experiencing right now, and I've called this energy tip video Harsh Awakening. Yes, guys, it is 2020 and it has started with a boom, with some serious outer things that are now sort of that are beginning to dominate our collective reality, namely the reality of conflict, the reality of narcissistic, the reality of insisting that my reality is the true reality, be it in our own personal lives or on this collective political stage. We have fires raging, we have people raging, we have the earth raging on all levels, and we also have our own emotions raging amidst all this. You know, the seriousness of awakening is hitting home. So for many of us, we could see this very beautifully in the True Self session here on the 1st of January. The biggest task now is to make sense of how this sort of truth pushing its way into our awareness, how this forced waking up, how this can be healing, how this can all lead to a higher vibratory existence, or how this can offer solutions. So in the Truth Talk for this week, I talked about the stages of higher learning, the stages of navigating through the jungle of our higher consciousness, and what the context, the larger context of this is. And if you've followed the last blog post that I emailed just yesterday about the vision for the energy business here in our society, then you can see that everything right now is pointing at the larger context, the larger perspective of things, so that we can make more sense and align better to the tasks ahead. The biggest part of this is the shift, our conscious shift, this awakening shift from an external into an internal reality, and how to juggle all this, how to find the balance between the ego reality that is still trying to, present, everything is fine and everything is just, if I just do more, if I just try harder, and for some of us, this isn't working anymore. Okay, so if you find yourself in a place where you are actively thinking about an exit strategy of, say, how to get out of your job, how to get out of your relationship, how to get out of your life, all right, then know that this is part of this collective energy that is hitting you right now. Okay, and the internal feeling of that is a very interesting feeling, is that our system now wants the ending of all of this. It really wants it, and it wants to move forward. I don't know if you felt this, but there was a strong sort of, I've had enough of this. It's too exhausting trying to, hold up, all this ego reality stuff. Why don't I just move on? And yes, that is the right impulse. The moving on, though, needs to be qualified. Okay, there's a tendency of our ego then to respond or to react to this with panic, with the fear of the unknown, the fear of uncertainty, and to cave in and to contract even more and to isolate even more and to go into this this protective mode of I need to stonewall everything. I need to build higher and stronger walls around me and around my heart, all right, to not be affected that much. And this is the part here that you, as consciously awakening people and people who are seeking to embody your true self, your soul self, that you need to withstand. The focus here does not need to be on how to protect yourself better. The focus here needs to be on how can I change my energy? How can I shift my energy so that I can actually develop not only a more positive or more optimistic vision of the future, but also a more practical vision of the future. For many of us, this is really the time right now where all our brain farts, our wishful thinking and our sort of la la land imagination of how we want our future to be are now plopping like this big ego bubble, that I've shown here on occasion. Developing a practical vision of the future means that we're going to have to be fully aware and fully awake of our spiritual and this visionary freedom to see ourselves integrated, harmoniously integrated, peacefully integrated into these times that we are currently facing. And this requires us to be fully present in this present moment awareness or present moment awakeness, as I called it last week. All right, we have to stay awake now, guys. There is no way, we can practically implement or manifest our higher goals with flip-flopping between being awake for a few minutes and then going back to sleep for the rest of the day. We need to take this seriously now, this daily practice of reminding ourselves of going and touching down and communing and communicating with our soul self, with our true self, through the sacredness practice that I mentioned last week, but also really just going into this inner sanctum, this safety zone within. Okay, so instead of building walls around us, we need to learn how to break these walls down and create our own safe space within. And this is really instrumental for an energetically sensitive person, because without understanding the mechanics and also the implications of your energetic state, and with it, of course, your energetic alignment, because remember, your energetic state is more or less just a consequence of your energetic alignment, meaning that whatever you energize, is then basically what you perceive as reality, right? And the importance of that is to recognize what state we are in and to know how to shift this. This is why it's so vital for us now to really take this seriously with energy awareness and what all this sort of energetic sensitivity has brought in for us. Now, in a more sort of scientific way, what I just described is really tuning into our heart space, which is the place of heart-brain coherence. Coherence is a word that comes from physics. It means when things are basically sort of oscillating on the same frequency, when they are beginning to dance together, okay? And heart-brain coherence is a very materialistic, a 3D description of a much a deeper process, really, the process of alignment and resonance. But it's not the heart and brain that we just have to bring into coherence. That's basically what mindfulness does. But we also have to bring our soul self-awareness, this multidimensional etheric being that we are, with this 3D reality, the 3D-ness of us. So it's more like the soul 3D-ness coherence that then allows us to go into this balance, into this harmonizing. And for this transition process, it's very important to understand the importance of masculine and feminine energies within, because they are actually setting the tone for us being able to act, to not be passive, to have a goal, to work towards into a certain direction, and to actively navigate through this, but at the same time also being able to hold the space for ourselves. We've talked about this in the past a lot, what integration really means. It is a very silent process, actually. It takes place in stillness. It takes place in the tenderness of witnessing. So holding space for ourselves, basically holding the space for our soul self here in 3D, transmuting this 3D ego reality into a higher vibratory reality for ourselves, for our manifestations, for our relationship, and for all the things that we can sort of bring into this expression. That is our task now. And this first week of January is really showing this to us. As many of you know, we have a full moon. Astrologers have been talking about this full moon lunar eclipse for months already, because it's such a rare and pivotal constellation here. So full moons are always the times where we go a little more emotional, where we go through like an organic clearing process. All right, but this one in particular has a very, very strong emotional signature. It's really probably a time now where people will think back, in 10 years from now, and consciously remember this week, okay, this phase that they're going through, where on one hand, you feel this really, really strong impact on your emotional security, your emotional safety, okay, where you for the first time realize that the world, the outer, the external world is not a safe place, but at the same time you also feel a really, really strong impact of your true self, sort of sending all these impulses, these signals to you, these interventions, okay, and perhaps even downloads, as we call them in energy work, where you suddenly receive the tremendous amount of energy and tremendous amount of insights that now need to be put into manifestation. You need to actively learn to shift your awareness, because when you do, okay, and many of you have already realized this, when you shift your energy, things are opening up for you. New resolutions, new options show, and the manifestation of whatever these resolutions then require, the abilities for that appear along with it. So you're going to have to trust that when your energy is right, that everything in your life begins to shift and flow into the right direction. And this is where our ego gets really combobulated, because it says, well, how can I trust in this if I don't know yet what it is that I'm going to be doing or that I'm going to be experiencing then? I rather go back to my old ways. But your old ways will show you darkness, will show you emotional upheaval, internal and external, because there is nothing in your ego reality right now that you could feel safe with. And this is the harshness of this awakening, that whatever 3D reality you are becoming aware of here in this first week of January, you can no longer deny it. Okay, and fighting against it just increases the levels of energetic stress within yourself, and with it, of course, prevents you from actually feeling inner peace, from feeling this compassionate, silent witnessing, this tender witnessing that I mentioned earlier. So it does not allow you to hold this space for yourself. This is now our task, guys. So if I look at how this process is here for us on an internal energetic perspective, it's primarily our second chakra that is going into extreme sort of enlargement. Okay, so our emotions will take on a much larger dimension this week than they normally do. Even our strongest intellectual mentalism will not help us out of this. All right, so you're not going to find any comfort there by going into your emotionality. It's very important that you recognize that these things that are coming forward there are all the stored stuff, the stored energies from the past, whether it's repression, whether it's denial, whether it's you not feeling adequate or feeling guilty about your past. All this now needs to be let go of. All right, so second chakra wants to heal. There's also very strong third chakra, solar plexus influx right now, and unfortunately this is the part here that we will experience as this flip-flopping, as this ego battle to hold on to the status quo, to the false self, to all the ego reality, the narrative of that. Okay, you can see this in the political arena, in the political stage really well. So you're going to have to deal with this full-on battle within yourself. And adding to this comes in a very strong fifth chakra influx now. Fifth chakra is the expression of truth. And the more sort of untrue or false the things are that you're energizing in your life, the less they will actually work. Okay, so everything that isn't true won't really grip anymore. Okay, so you're being forced into this wake up, as I called it earlier, into your own truth through becoming real and going into a more truthful expression of who you truly are. So for some of us, this means that we're actually going to have to admit things to ourselves. And I'm going to go through the internal tasking, of this reality here in this next week in a second. On the external, the collective layer of this, what this overall context here of global awakening and consciousness evolution. All right, we are experiencing the collapse of the narcissistic ego aspect of humanity right now. So with the most recent political events that have been announcing themselves here for months already, okay, we are witnessing the resolution of a conflict that is thousands of years old. And this has to happen, guys. I know, as scary as this thought of another big war is, it is important for this healing, this collective healing that needs to take place. This narcissistic ego collapse has to happen on this collective level. It does happen in our personal lives as well. I'm going to look into this here in a second, but the overall interpretation of this is really the consequences of asleepness. All right, so whatever is coming into manifestation right now is not created right now. This has been going on. This is the consequences of unresolved past things, which is why it's so important now to wanting to resolve this and wanting to move forward. So it really needs to be our imperative now to seek these strategies, but peaceful strategies within and outside, all right, to resolve our past. And in our internal reality, how this affects us now, you know how I always divide this into the physical, emotional, mental, social, relationship level, spiritual, and energetic. reality. So our inner reality is extremely complex. But starting with the densest level of our inner reality, the physical reality, the 3D reality of our being, okay, we are now beginning to realize how all these things, these daily practice, daily discipline, blah, 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 exercise, food, creating a home, taking care of our bills, how all this requires, and I've talked about this in the past here, and I'm just using this as a keyword now, attentive intentiveness. All right, it's a very mental word, but we have to consciously stay awake at all times. This needs to be feasible. This needs to be practical. You need to be able to translate whatever ideas, whatever vision, whatever, ways you're seeing yourself in this, whether you realize that you have a shitty diet, or that you are not sleeping enough, or that you need to do more exercise. You now need to do it. You need to walk this talk. Whatever the narrative of your ego reality is, will no longer uphold. It's gonna, really sort of pull you into the reality of not taking care of yourself. It will show you the consequences of your sleepness directly in your physical body. So as for next week, I'm expecting people with a lot of stomach and digestive upsets. Also, maybe those of you who have gallbladder issues or issues with repressed anger, you're going to feel this is going to mess with your neurotransmitters. Okay, and this can throw you into a lot of internal emotional upheaval. All right, so even more so a reason to pay attention to your diet, pay attention to the cortisol and adrenaline levels that you are exposing yourself to, the physical stress that you are putting onto your body. Okay, really work with calming things down, work with helping your digestion. This is where your gut health is where everything is being processed, especially your emotions, so that you can move forward in a more cleared way. So this next week will bring in another opportunity for you to physically clear out things. And maybe you just want to go with it. Maybe you want to do another reboot detox, because reboot is probably the best to describe all the things that are happening here right now in our personal life. Okay, it's a reboot, guys. Or now emotionally, we have to pay a lot of attention now to not get pulled into this desperate and powerlessness that comes through being overwhelmed through our fears and this denial of reality. Okay, we need to really learn to look at truth. So many of you still have a hard time looking at reality only because of the past. If you would just cut off the past and just admit to yourself, okay, I couldn't see this before, all right, so I don't need to feel guilty about not doing anything before. You couldn't have, all right, if you can just let go and focus on your energy at this very moment and what you can do to make yourself feel more safe, more secure, but without, this is the trick, without building more walls, because the walls are what ultimately isolate you, what ultimately make you unsafe again. All right, so don't go into this freeze. Your nervous system will pull your emotions into freeze, guys, into wanting to check out, into wanting to just cave in. All right, trust in your feelings, trust in your body, trust in your energetic sensitivity. All right, this is the moment where you can practice finding this inner place of stillness, inner peace, in a very, very practical manner. And this is then ultimately what builds emotional resilience and also confidence. So we begin to feel more competent, more adequate in dealing with emotional ups and downs. This has to happen now, guys. Otherwise, the events of this next year and next 2 years really, will completely pull you into a sleepness again, right? Now, mentally, this practicing stillness, and finding this sort of tender witnessing mode now needs to be practiced on a daily level. I don't know if you saw this. I'm offering a whole new program now, one of which has a daily energy alignment, 30 minutes every day. I'm also reading your energy in that, and I'm giving a very brief reflection of this because this is a daily thing, but something that those of you who want to practically implement this daily alignment, okay, that can help you doing this. You can do this on your own, of course. You don't need me to do this for you. I published the alignment, a week ago already, all right? But there's something about not doing it, there's something in us, that's conflicted. So sometimes it helps to commit to this. And also it helps to do it in a group, or to know that there's other people who are doing this with you. You can, of course, form your own little alignment groups, ask your friends, hey, do you want to do this together every day at a certain time? Energetic alignment, we just listen to this and really feel into this 30 minutes of your day. There's no limitation as to how you can practically implement this, but you have to make this a part of your life now. Otherwise, your mind is going to go nuts. It's going to try to find a solution where there is no solution until you shift, you actively shift your energy. And that is, with all these mindfulness practices, such as meditating, contemplating, realigning, and I actually recommend to do this more than once a day, okay, to like I suggested last week, to have something on you, or that you're looking at as you go through your day, like a crystal or some kind of token of your inner peace, of your stillness, or the tender witness in you, all right, that can help you to remember this 50 times a day if needed. Now, socially, on a collective level here, this major shift, of course, leads to shifts in our relationships as well. Like, there's a lot of sociological implications of this global awakening, but in our personal relationships, it really means to recognize that in the face of this larger perspective, we don't actually have time to diddle-daddle around with toxic relationships. Okay, it's way too hard to sustain your own energy if you're constantly being bombarded by people that have no sense for your boundaries, or that are actively going against, some of your goals, or that are constantly sort of pulling you in or hoovering you into pleasing them, or providing a payoff for them. Those are hallmarks of toxicity in our relationships. It doesn't actually matter that some of us also realize the magnitude of our own codependency and how we have been enabling all of this. This too, you got to be willing to let go. Okay, this is past now. All right, now that you're realizing how sacred your own being is and how hard it is, really, it's not complicated. It's actually quite simple, but it's not easy, all right, to maintain your energy levels in this higher vibratory place. Once you become aware of like how much work this requires, and how much, how precious this really becomes, you realize that you don't have time to waste in relationships that are not conducive for this. And of course, this also includes work environments or places, or, all different levels of social interaction. So use this increased awareness of your own sacredness now to integrate this into your life, guys. No more diddle-daddling around. Okay. Now, spiritually, obviously, this is a very sort of sobering time right now, where we realize that, if we just see ourselves as a 3D being, if we just see ourselves in our solid materialistic sort of existence, all right, that we're doomed. Okay, so this is the attachment to the 3D that brings in this doomy, gloomy, apocalyptic kind of feeling. But once you realize that there is something like a higher power, and that this higher power is actually radiating through you, and that you have access to all these higher vibrational abilities such as healing and abundance and true love and so forth, you realize that this is just part as an outer condition. Okay, the stuff that's going on around you is an outer condition, just like a weather condition. Okay, there'll always be fluctuations of that. Okay, whether it's the planet or the political situation or social values, all of that are just outer conditions. Okay, and they, for the conscious awakened self, those are just you know expressions of preferences. Okay, so if you like some of the expressions of that, fine, then go with it. But if you don't, then you don't have to go against it either. You just have to like realize that the path, the route that you are choosing, okay, is your path. And this is supported because when you are in full awareness of this, all these other layers here, the physical, emotional, mental, and social are just basically the foundation for this. All right, then you can choose how you want to navigate through all this outer uncertainty, this outer, stress and war making. Okay, so it is then through developing these practical strategies that you begin to become more confident and trusting in your higher power, and of course the guidance that you receive through your energetic sensitivity. But on an energetic level, this still needs to be practiced. So our energetic awareness, our energetic awakeness now needs to go into the next level. It needs to go into this mastery level. We have to learn how to instantaneously shift our energy when we find ourselves going low, as I often call this, all right, and through this, how to make higher vibratory decisions. Okay, so if you allow yourself to go asleep, if you allow yourself to get caught in your ego reality, you got to understand that all the solutions, or usually it's just two, doom or gloom, or some kind of fantasy, so all or nothing, or black and white, or catch 22, then you're in your ego when you feel that way. Okay, so you don't really have that many options, that many choices. So through this, you learn that there are more options, but you have to walk the talk. You have to really understand what this energetic perceptivity is bringing in for you, and how you can access, these better solutions, or more conducive solutions, through shifting your own perspective, shifting your own alignment. Okay, we cannot control the collective healing process, but the larger perspective helps us to understand that this is something that needs to happen, so we don't have to go against it. We do need to stand our ground, though. So this is the balance between sort of blind activism and fighting against, these outer things, and inner peacefulness, and out of that developing strategies, developing solutions in the practical, such as maybe forming communities, maybe deciding to become an energy healer, or helping other people to create higher vibratory visions, or become a spiritual a leader, or an educator, or on whatever level you can see these higher vibratory goals playing out. This will give you the confidence to translate this into 3D. This is what needs to happen now, guys. So no need to be afraid, no need to feel doomy or gloomy. On the contrary, this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to practice all of this, to send this through a reality check, and to develop strategies in 3D, okay? Sometimes they start with an exit strategy, but this is just the beginning, okay, the reboot. Then you're going to have to follow through with, trusting in your energetic sensitivity, trusting in your inner guidance, and following your freedom, to envision a higher vibratory future for yourself, a future that is based on truth, that is based on true love, true belonging, true connection, true abundance, true healing, and peace on all levels. All right, guys, I hope this is enough of a pep talk here for you to get through this week. We have a few sessions here, and as always, use the Skype thread to share, to feel this communal feeling here at transCODES. If you don't know what I'm referring to, check the link here in this video with the address for this current energies Skype thread where everybody can just sort of exchange and commune with other people about how they're perceiving energies at this current moment. Thank you for your support, Heart Warriors. You guys are troopers. I'm looking forward to a wonderful January with you guys, and feel honored to be able to witness all of this with you. Have a wonderful week. See you next week. Bye-bye.